So Olaf, you just talked a little bit through some athletes, but for us it's also interesting, how did you start the company and why? What was the initial idea and why is it actually called Morten? Because I don't know.
No, I think the story is kind of fun, but it's to be honest, the reason of the name was kind of simple. We said that we wanted to have a name that was more discreet. Mm-hmm. And then we were searching for weeks trying to find some name. And one of the founders, his name is Morten. And it happened that Morten.com was free. So that was the reason. And we took it and we called Morten and said, well, we can use your name.
Okay.
And he was really angry and said, no, I don't want that. But today he's kind of happy. He still feels this kind of awkward sometimes when he meets people and say, my name is Morten. And they're like, oh, Morten, oh, it's you.
And is he still involved? Or
he's still involved, he's in the board. So when we founded the company, we both, Morten and I, come from biotech background, you can say. And he called me up one morning saying that he had some ideas. He had issues actually being to the dentist. So he's an Ironman triathlete.
I know that problem actually.
Yes. I know, yeah. Everyone knows that very well. And sometimes we can actually hear people saying that it's not the pain when they're reaching the finish line, it's the pain in the mouth is worse than the muscles. But so pretty much he had corrosions on his teeth from ingesting a lot of carbs during training. And
like just sugar.
Yes, he was on the bike in the morning and he trained in the lunch and then he was on the bike in the afternoon. He's an expert in drug delivery at Uppsala Academical Hospital. So he called me up this morning. I remember the call, and he was really pissed because of his sort of injuries in the mouth. And he had a clever dentist who asked what he was doing and his behaviors, and he just told him how, like a normal Ironman triathlete, what they do.
And you don't have to wonder about that. Yeah.
No, and they said, okay, of course it's because of this, and it's a number of reasons of the issues he's had is because of the acidity of the products that were on the market and also of course the high sugar content and so on. So he said, Olaf, this is kind of crazy, we should do a more clever solution to transport the carbohydrates. So we can reduce the issues. And at the time I was like, sounds like a good idea. And I went home. I'm also a different type of personality, so we started to look at what's on the market, and we analyzed, I think, in the end, like 60 companies in the US and Europe, and we realized that everything was pretty much the same. It's a basis of first of all carbohydrates and water, and then you have a lot of other stuff that you probably don't need.
Electrolytes and stuff like that, yeah.
Yes, and preservatives, coloring, flavors, and some have even more crazy stuff like vitamins and stuff. But if you looked at the different brands, the difference between the products were mainly, the logos on the packaging and so on, and flavors. So I was kind of intrigued, and I thought, okay, if we can apply more advanced drug delivery system, we could actually find a white space in the market. So I called him back and I said, Morten, okay, how do we do this? And he replied, I have no idea.
Great. Okay.
So but let me think, and it went a few weeks more, and he actually came back after doing some experiments and said that I think we need to have something that is sort of food graded and that is natural and simple to use, and there is a history of actually using hydrogels in the drug delivery. I actually have a book in my office saying 40 years of alginate in the drug delivery.
Okay.
So it made sense, and we started to do experiments, and we realized, and this is we have something here. And the first product we were thinking of is actually we still haven't launched. It was too complicated to produce.
But you won't tell us.
I won't tell you what it is, but it's something else than the gels and the drinks we actually launched. So with that said, I've had the opportunity to leave my other company, and we started the business, and we started to investigate how we can utilize a better system to transport carbohydrates. And we had a good opportunity. I can pick some really good people. My head of research has been at AstraZeneca for 30 years and so on. So we were able to actually kind of quick doing prototypes, and we started testing them. And the idea and the vision of it was to reach, I would say, the everyday athlete, people that were having issues with the stomach, problems with oral health, and issuing actually fueling. And what we didn't expect was to get the world elite overnight. That is something that we didn't plan for, and something that happened. And it didn't start with Eliud. It did start with Kenenisa Bekele. So we actually looked at it from a scientific perspective, and we had the opportunity to do sort of a scientific study, and we found a scientist that were doing one of the first sub 2 hours projects, and we explained to him the technology, and he understood it, and he was kind of impressed, and said this could be the holy grail in nutrition. So we started to test, and the first product we were testing were a liquid, and that's the drinks we have today. And it's kind of an advanced system. We build from the acidity in the stomach, we build a biopolymer structure, and we had help actually from the university as well, with Anna Ström, who's a professor there. So she did her PhD in hydrogel structures.
Okay.
And she had some ideas that what type of biopolymers we could use, and she had used something in a completely different projects. So we started to investigate, and we were able to get a perfect gelation, sort of, from a drink. And this sounds simple,
no,
but
actually not.
Maybe it's not. For me, it's the idea is simple, but in practice it was a lot of.
I think we can imagine.
But we went into the project with the sub 2, and they wanted to test it, and we had a PhD student, so we went over to Ethiopia for 3 months. And starting to work with Bekele. And at the time, Bekele was, if you know Bekele, he's up and down. He is probably the most talented runner on the planet, I would say.
I think still a world record holder of 5 and 10K,
Yes, I think he lost one of them, but he is, he's a miracle in sort of the perfect running physiology, I would say. But anyhow, at the time he had been going from the world records to the road, and he didn't succeed very well. So he was open to test new things and to develop himself. So he's also very private in his training. He only trains with his brother and so on. So, but we had the opportunity to come into his sphere and started to test the drink. And first he actually demanded some flavors, and he wanted an African root, some flavors that was it's easy to do flavors. So, but we also realized very quickly that from coincidence, from other things, that for once we did trainings and we forgot about the flavoring, and after the training he said, okay, I don't want flavor, and we realized that the pro athletes, they don't want flavor. You don't want to have. You want to focus on the sport, and so at that stage we decided to not only use the system to transport carbohydrates, we also realized that we should remodel the whole thinking, the whole idea of a sports drink. So we redesigned everything and took rid of everything you don't need. You don't need color. You don't run faster on color. You don't. Yeah, you can say sometimes you could actually run faster on flavor, but normally not. It depends on your behavior in feeding. But and then you don't need preservatives. You don't need acidity. You don't need all of the rest of the
totally
things.
With you. Keep it simple.
So we removed everything and started from base up, and we looked at what do you need, and that's how sort of the drink came up. And what we could see is that the runners they loved it. This was magic for them, and actually the drink was called the magic drink, and it still are in Iten in Kenya and in Ethiopia. And so after a while, when we heard the name The Magical Drink, we said, okay, but guys, why is it magical? What do you mean? And they said, because it's disappearing. And so, how do you mean it's disappearing? Yes, it does, because when we drink it, we don't feel it.
Okay, yeah.
And the thing is, if you take say a Kenyan runner of 50 kilos, and they're running in a 85% VHG max, they feel every milliliter of water they're getting in. Yeah. But of course they won't feel Maurten, because Maurten, the product, the 320 drink, will transform into a gel. It won't shake around in the same sense. It will be in the bottom of the stomach and go quickly gastric empty. Yeah. So we started, the first test we did was with Bekele in Berlin. So we go back to Germany.
Yeah.
So this is actually
when was that? Actually?
2016.
16. Yeah. Okay.
And this is the starting point of the company that we really started to take off. We hadn't launched any products, and we had been testing prototypes for 3 months in Ethiopia. And our theory was that everybody knows that Askey, Kendrup, and similar, they said, okay, you should have like 90 grams an hour. That was the perception. We also realized kind of quickly no one was able to do that in a marathon pace.
Not in running, yeah.
No, and at the time we went to the scene, most of them were using water. Very few were.
Some Coke maybe or so. Yeah, in the end.
No, not even that. No, some were using Bekele, for example. He couldn't tolerate a 3% carbohydrate solution. He had issues, and we met a lot of runners similarly. So they were training with water mainly. Some of them had a little bit of sports drinks, but probably reaching, I would say, 20 grams an hour, maybe 30. So, and the reason they didn't do more was because of the issues. So in that pace, it's very hard, especially for running. So we decided to test a 14% drink, which was at the time mind-blowing, unthinkable. But we realized that it's probably not the volume of water. It won't be dehydrated, even if the literature were thinking that. We said that during 2 hours in a 15-16 degrees temperature, it would be better to increase the carbohydrates so you can reach closer to 90 grams. And the day before, I was sitting with his manager. He's a famous guy, Josh Hermes. And he looked at me and said, Olof, if he takes 1 minute of his PB tomorrow in Berlin, then we know the technology works.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah.
And I was like, oof. We were so worried that he would have, loading this amount of carbohydrates in a race situation is completely different from training. So we had specialized, we had the small bottles, but we had them with a certain volume on each station. So he had to drink everything. And we measured all the bottles and measured his weight before and after and everything to have control. And this was still the most exciting race I watched in my life because it was so much on stake. And he ending up taking 2.5 minutes of his PB. Did the quickest finish in a marathon still.
Yeah.
It was amazing standing in Germany and you know the last piece.
It's well famous.
Yes, and that was the starting point. And since then, I would say we pretty much have every single winner in every major marathon since 2016 has been using the product. So and the world records and everything that happened.
Actually, it's quite interesting because normally other brands go more like into triathlon, for example, because triathletes use new things more often or earlier than maybe like conservative runners.
Yep.
But in that case, it's just the other way around. And I think it's really interesting that you went to Ethiopia, and you started there. I didn't know that actually, and I think it's really
And that was a starting point, and it's actually not until Eliud is doing his attempt to break 2 hours with Nike in.
Imola?
No, at the Monza track.
Monza, not Imola. Yes, another track.
Monza track. And we didn't know he was using Morten at the time, but he did. And everybody said it was like the greatest stunt ever. From the elite, they started noticing us already from Berlin 2016. And we continued driving the project and had some amazing races with different athletes. I was in New York when Gebre Selassie was going in, 2.5 minutes. He could almost have a burger before the second one was arriving. And in the beginning, the first 2 years, we had only like one runner a race. So it was really, today it's, to be honest, I think it's like 90% will be using Morten in the elite field. So it's been a truly interesting journey with the company. But we just started. So we have the biggest products is coming, and
we heard that, yeah.
Yes,
we already tried it.
Yes. Yep. You tried one, but you will try something else as well when you're here.
I know.
So we it's different. It also is interesting how we've been approaching the science. This field is completely different from what I'm used to in medicine. So it's a lot is based on sponsored studies by larger enterprises historically, and there are not too many good studies within nutrition, and it's kind of natural reasons. If you're in cancer research, there is obviously more money, higher interest of having non-biased studies and so on. But in nutrition is pretty much the opposite. So it took us actually 5 years before it came an independent study. And that was really big.
We presented it in our first video in this series. So the community knows the study.
Yes, they do. Oh, great. No, but it was truly. We're from Sweden, and we're kind of naive in some sense. I think so.
You say that.
But we need to be naive in the sense that we. From my view, it was important to have a study that was independent because that is the basic in medicine. But what I didn't expect was to see so many studies coming up. We actually have a name for them. We call them raincoat studies. And the raincoat studies is that we have 2 different raincoats and in a sunny day. And then you can say they're equally good. Because it's not raining. And there is several of those studies, and from of course competing companies and so on. But we thought if we are launching the data we had, then it would be biased. So people is no.
Of course you have to say that. And stuff
like But now knowing what happened, we will have to wait 5 years, and we're lucky that someone actually took the time in doing a proper study. But we were almost losing the hope when the study arrived. And now we see also a change in all the big names in nutrition, because that study was so well performed. It's hard to say anything else. But with that said, I think the philosophy we also learned is that it doesn't matter how good product you do. It needs to be functional with the athlete. And even if we do the best things in the lab. And this is actually a nice similarity to the studies that are performing in the area. So when we have done a shift a couple of years ago, and now we're more and more we're doing all our test studies on the field.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, because it's say GI, for example. It's so interesting. We knew. We optimized the carbohydrate uptake by using Tracer, and when we launched the product, now it's 6 years ago, I think, 5 years ago. Something like that. Yeah. And we knew that the possibility was to have an uptake of 120 grams an hour in certain individuals. So, especially in elite, or sometimes I think even more. But so we optimized the ratio of, so we have 0.81 between fructose and glucose, and that's sort of the baseline. It's not the technology is something different with the hydrogel, but we optimized everything to, you can utilize it as a pro, but you can actually utilize it as a normal person as well. Yeah. But I think you can see the shift today. You can use pretty much anything. I think you can actually almost use a pizza in a lab room running in a low pace.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then you can watch the uptake. So pretty much any products that are on the planet, you can do a test without seeing a GI response.
Yeah, like 60% of VO2 max, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
this was also like, I presented all those studies with the hydrogel, and I already said that, okay, it's about the method.
Yeah.
And if you're not running at marathon pace or something like that, and really for a long time, and then like do like a more like I think it was a 5K time trial at the end or something. Yeah. If you don't do that, you don't have GI stress, and you can't test the technology actually.
No. And what we see is so interesting, because it's so easy to get GI in real life. Everybody knows that. But
I can tell you that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's such a different, especially in competition mode.
Yeah. So with the nerves involved and stuff like that. Yeah.
And to try to simulate that in a lab environment is really hard.
Yeah.
So I think we learned a lesson there, and I think the whole industry will learn a lesson somehow, because it's not interesting to watch a study on a treadmill in a low pace in a small amount of people and looking at the figures saying, hey, this is how it looks like. You can learn something from it, but these studies, I think, will die out. We need to be coming up to the next level to understand the human physiology.
Especially, I mean, in high performance sports, you have to go to the athletes in the field to test it there in competition and stuff.
Yes,
like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're doing a lot of those studies, like with Kilian.
I heard.
The other day.
I don't know if I can tell all the names, but I heard some names.
Yeah, we are. We're working with a lot of athletes, and we don't have contract with major part, but for us it's a good situation, because we want to learn and understand, and if we're working with the best athletes in the world in different sports, which we do, we learn a lot, and they are very open to work with us, because it's a win-win. We have a balance, and sometimes we decide to do a contract, sometimes we don't. But we still have the same relationship with the athletes, and I think most people don't know that, and I think we're kind of rare. I think it's not many companies working that way.
No. If the CEO is what you told me the day before the race in the house of the athletes in St. George, I think it's totally not normal.
No, maybe it isn't. But I think we had a close relationship with most of our athletes. We're trying to. It's always getting problematic. We have hundreds of athletes, that we have contracts with. So we can't meet everyone, but we, of course, we deep dive, and also when we're looking at different sports, we need to understand and learn. So triathlon is a completely different sport to marathon.
And cycling.
And cycling and swimming. But there is, of course, you can learn from being close with the Tour de France teams on road, and being close with the marathon teams, and being close. We're actually working with the best swimmers in the world. No one knows that.
I heard that,
Yes. But if you take those three individual sports, and then we learn a lot of things.
I mean, it's totally different also from a GI perspective. If you go to France, right, for 3 weeks, it's a totally different ball game than a one-day event like an Ironman or like a 2-hour event like a marathon.
Yes.
And I think you can't compare them.
No. But you can learn things from different training, and you can learn things from intake and food, and I think Ola will be a great example of having these discussions with. But from my personal view, every sport we are getting into, of course we want to be working with athletes that are the best in the world, and if we can optimize just a tiny bit, you will see results that are amazing. You saw Girmay, for example, the other day in cycling,
but not at the prize ceremony, I think.
No. That was some things to teach as well. But
for the first time, when you win for the first time on stage at the Giro, you have to learn that.
Yes. Well, But I heard also Van der Poel were hitting himself as well, actually. So it was not the only one, which doesn't make it better. But but of course you see. I remember my cycling story. One of the most magical ones was we got a phone call after Eliud was running, and we got a lot of publicity. And there was a cycling team calling up, and they said we need to have this. We need to test it, and we started to work with them. And I remember I was going down to the Tour de France. This was many years ago, and I came to you've seen the cycling. It's massive. We went to the bus, and then this small French guy. I see him in far distance. It was Pierre Rolland, and he saw me. He saw the logo, and he knew I was coming. So he was running and hugging me. I never met the guy before in my life, and he said he was so happy, and he just won one of the tougher stages, and he had so much problems with his GI, and he started using Maurten and getting more energy than he ever had before, and he was winning again, and the success, the sort of the happiness,
the relief, was more or less.
Yes, it's and we see this a lot. We have been working a lot with triathletes, different runners that sort of it's on the elite level that the psychology is so bad. They are so worried of the GI that they dream nightmares before a race, because every time they're coming to a drink station, it's like they know that this is the ending of my race or not.
I'm coaching athletes. I know those stories.
Yes. And we see them in the beginning. We worked with a very good female athlete, and she whole her career she's been every second race she crashed because of the stomach. Has had big issues, and so they made sort of special soups, like blueberry soup, were really low. Her manager did low carb content and so on. They tried every product that was on the market, and then we started working with her, and a year later she didn't even think about it, and she was using a 14% sports drink, and that's the big effect we see. It's remarkable.
Okay, Olof, so we started with this whole how you started the company, and now we know what's the name actually.
Where it come from.
We call Maurten then. And okay, but from my perspective, it would be really interesting. So now it's really impressive now where your headquarters are, and you're now developing as a firm also. So, what is your vision? So, from 1 to 10, you said you just started, okay?
Yeah.
So maybe you're just at 1, but what is your vision like in 5 or 10-ish years? Yeah. Where do you see Martin? Where you think you can help, in which fields?
I think we can help in many fields. I think we can help in sports in general, and I think we want to change the view how people look at nutrition. And when we started the company, I take marathon as an example because I think triathlon is not really there. It's better, but marathon, people spend a lot of money going to race. They spend a lot of money in shoes, equipment, hotel rooms, everything. And we've seen those lists in the beginning, and you can see that first of all you need to have the race bib, you need to have your favorite shorts, you have shoes that you used before that you know will work in marathon. No one goes with new shoes.
No, hopefully not.
Hopefully not. and you have a sort of this list, and if on the list, in the bottom of the list is nutrition, and when we enter the scene normally. Average athlete going for a marathon, they went into the expo, looked around and said, okay, I'll take this one.
Yeah. I did that 10 years ago as well.
Yes, and the issues doing it.
Guilty here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think by introducing technology, making things in a completely different level, people will understand the impact of fueling. Because if you fuel right, it's one of the biggest changes you can do in a triathlon, for example. So if we can get people understanding this, we will put it in the top of the list. It should be at least equal with the shoes if you're running a marathon, and that's hopefully someday we will reach that point. And as a company, we're a global company today. I would say if you're in US, most people think we're from US. And
I thought so in the beginning too, yeah.
And if we're in Sweden, most people think we're from US as well. Okay. So we haven't focused on the Swedish market really, because we're low population and so on, and which has been strange. So we're sitting in Sweden, no one knows about us here, but if you go to I-10 or to Kenya or to US or South Africa, wherever, people know about us in the elite field. So I think the vision, of course, of the company is to continue delivering innovations and doing this for hopefully many years, and to change the game in different perspectives for different sports. So we started with marathon, and now we're going into longer distance, like triathlon, ultra running, and we're learning and adopting, coming in new products for you guys. And also at the same time we are working on the shorter distance. So we're coming with a big products on that this year as well. So and I'm also very interested in understanding in US, for example, we are moving into a lot of the college sports and universities and so on, because they all have a nutritionist employed, and they're realizing they can do so much better than what they're using today. So much more healthy and better for the oral health and better for actually performance and recovery. So we have a lot of things to do in the coming years, but of course we have grown significantly in these 5 years, and I would say today we are one of the largest nutrition companies in running. I think we are number 1 in running. So and also hopefully soon in triathlon and other sports. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. And I heard that you are now also in Formula 1.
Yes. Yes. So crazy how it sounds. We are getting. Formula 1 is one example, and I have many more from different sports.
Actually, I watched, sorry to interrupt you, but I watched last year or so during Corona. I had some time, I think everybody had some time, and I watched a documentary about football. I think it was Manchester City or so, on the Amazon video series. And one player also used Morten as well.
Yes, we see, so in professional football, as an example, a lot of the top teams are our customers. They're sponsored by others, but they are using our products. And I saw some interesting on TV on the FA Cup now with a company with some German stuffing. So there is, and we've been working with Tottenham and learning a lot for 4 years. We've been working a lot in the La Liga and even in Germany we're working with your top teams. But it's for us, we haven't been focusing on those really. We haven't been focusing on Formula 1. We haven't been focusing on a lot of sports. Main part of the sports we don't, because we don't have the resources or we haven't reached the size of the company yet. So our philosophy is that we have a focus on the sort of endurance triangle, we call it, which you have triathlon, running, cycling, and everything in between. It could be to ultra running, to swim run, and all this type of sports, which it makes a ton of sense coming in with a technology that makes things easier and better fueling for all of them. But to be honest, it's a huge effect even in a football game. But we haven't focused on that, and also it's a completely different money to sponsor Real Madrid, for example. It's out of our budget, and even if they were using us, we couldn't say. But most of the teams are today. So I think Formula 1 has been kind of cool as well. We had so many emails from the different teams. And so we know already a number of years back that they were using our products, and we've been involved in the ideation projects with the teams. And then a couple of weeks ago, we were of course happy when Max Verstappen, his performance coach, were showing that he was using Morten for the world, and this is cool. But at the same time, we said that Formula 1, I think it has 300 million followers or something like that. It's a very big sport, especially now after Netflix. But you can say that if you look at the history of Formula 1, they have had sponsors like whiskey brands, cigarette brands, and so on. And we would reach our audience. Mainly. Same thing with football. Most people sit in a pub watching football.
This is TV sports.
Yes. So, but everyone who watches a triathlon, they are a triathlete themselves. And almost everyone still watching the Tour de France, or even a marathon, even more crazy. You wouldn't watch a marathon if you if you didn't run yourself. So for us, it makes much more sense to be in those sports. And also, we used to joke about it. It's like Formula 1. You have 13 customers. It's a very small market for us.
I know.
So even if it's 300 million watching it, it's our customers will be the one driving. And those are very, very few people. I don't know if it's 13, but it's
22, I think.
22. Yeah. So it's not a big market for us.
No.
Even if today, I think we have a good number of them.
Okay, great. So Olof, thank you very much for your insights and for taking us through your journey for all the years. It was really interesting, and just from a few words from my side, it's really, so we are just here for a couple of hours now. And it's here, I don't want to say the word magic, but here's a lot of energy in the business, and I really like it. And what I can already say it's not just the claim, what you just told us. It's you can really feel it here in your building, and thank you really much for the invitation.
I'm happy to have you here. It's super cool,
and to be so transparent, and also like we do another videos. And thank you very much also from our audience, I think.
Big audience.
And I heard that you speak also some German, so maybe you want to say something.
I have some phrases. I've actually I spent time in Potsdam. I lived there for a month during college, and So I understand German well, but I used to say, ich komme aus Schweden, so ich spreche nicht so gut Deutsch.
Okay, well, that's great.
So, but that's how I learned. And then the other phrases are more for ordering beer and stuff.
Yeah, okay. So later, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, then thank you very much.
Thank you a lot.
And if you like the video, just hit the thumb up and maybe to subscribe to our channel. Thanks a lot and bye-bye.